Hey class, it's Miss Harrison. You are about to start my third and final lesson from my unit. This is called the flipped lesson, where you do everything on the computer. I can't wait for you all to get started. It's going to be something different, probably something you've never really done before, and Miss Beller is going to have the link on the whiteboard for you to get started, so I hope you all like it. Enjoy it.
Hello everyone. Okay, so recently in my unit we have been discussing the civil rights movement, and for the past 2 days we have went over two very important activists. However, activists are not the only thing you need to know about the civil rights movement. Right now I want you to take out your piece of paper and your pencil that you brought with you to the lab, because I'm about to go over some vocabulary words that you are going to need to take some notes on. Vocabulary term number 1, segregation. Segregation is separating one group of people from another group of people. As you can see in the photo, there is a white female and an African American female, and they look very separated in the classroom. Number 2, boycott. Boycott is taking a stand against rules based on beliefs by not accusing the product or service. This is like a protest. Prejudice. Prejudice is a belief or attitude that one race is superior to another. This is often like judgment. It isn't always has to be due to race. Like we were talking about yesterday in class, it would not be correct to treat someone with brown eyes different than someone with blue eyes. Integration. Integration is the bringing together of all races, such as unity. Oppression. Oppression is taking rights away from people with no reason. Discrimination. Discrimination is the differential treatment to persons of a targeted race or religion with regard to housing, employment, or use of public facilities. As you can see in the picture, there is a sink for white men and a sink for colored men. They were not allowed to use the same sink. Okay, as I stated before, we have went over two very important activists. Rosa Parks, who would not give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama for a white man, and Mr. Martin Luther King Jr. He is often called the father of the civil rights movement, and he has wrote several very famous speeches. However, they are not the only ones important. I have some more activists that you need to know about. The first one is Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson is the first minority in the MLB. He played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He faced many threats and insults due to his race and sought integration. He wanted unity as well. Huey Newton. Huey Newton is the founder of the Black Panther Party. He fought against police brutality and faced 15 years in prison due to criminal charges. He had several encounters with the police and law enforcement. Philip Randolph. He was the leader of the Brotherhood of Sleep Cars Porters Union. He fought for better wages and working conditions, and led the March on Washington movement. This march was insisted to pressure the United States government into desegregating the armed forces and providing fair working opportunities for the African Americans. Lyndon Johnson. He signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and became president after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and he also signed the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which prohibited discrimination in voting. Thurgood Marshall. He was a Supreme Court justice at one time. He was a civil rights lawyer as well, and he said segregation was illegal and unconstitutional. And he won the victory of the Brown versus Board of Education case, which was a court case where they had argued whether blacks and whites should go to the same schools or they should have separate schools. Reverend James Bevel. He was the leader of the Children's March in 1963, the director of Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1963, and an advisor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference had 3 major successes. The first one was in 1963, Birmingham Children's Crusade. The second one, 1965, Selma Voting Rights Movement, and the 1966 Chicago Open House Movement. Emmett Till. He was a 14-year-old boy who was brutally murdered after being accused for whistling at a white woman. After his death, the court case became emblematic to the disparity of unjust treatment to blacks in the South. This really showed people just how unfair and unequally right that they were treating the black people. Frederick Douglass. He escaped from slavery. He was a social reformer. He served as an advisor to the presidents and the U.S. Marshal District of Columbia. He is also the leader of the abolitionist movement. Mahatma Gandhi. He was an Indian leader, started non-violent protesting, and he was really admired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because he got his point across, but he was very respectful and non-violent about it. John F. Kennedy. He was the President of the United States during the Civil Rights Movement. He declared segregation unconstitutional, and he was assassinated. He defined the civil rights crisis as moral as well as constitutional and legal. Okay, let's review. You all should have some notes on the 6 vocabulary terms that we went over in the beginning of this presentation. Those words are segregation, boycott, prejudice, integration, oppression, and discrimination. Alright, and we also discussed 10 civil rights activists: Jackie Robinson, Huey Newton, Philip Randolph, Lyndon Johnson, Thurgood Marshall, Reverend James Bevel, Emmett Till, Frederick Douglass, Mahatma Gandhi, and John F. Kennedy. Alright, you all need to keep your notes because you're going to need them. Thank you for being great listeners.
Okay, everyone, so you should have just finished watching the online video that I've done about the civil rights movement and the activists and the vocabulary. So the very next thing you're going to do is take the vocab quiz on the link right below this video. And then the second thing you're going to do is go to the second link, and it is titled Miss Harrison's Web Quest. And there you will be given instruction for the next activity you're going to do. And I'm not going to tell you anything about it on this video. And I want you all to explore that website and figure out what you're supposed to do yourselves. So, I can't wait to see your presentations.